Chapter 1. Crisis at Home. "Stella, come down, now!" Stella's mother called out, loud enough to be heard, but not to startle. Pointing skyward from her perch high in a tall tree, Stella grinned and called down playfully, "Want to see me go higher?" Stella was 10 and old enough to know not to push it too far. As she descended easily from limb to limb, Mom's heart rate slowly plummeted. "Young lady, I thought we had an understanding. I want to speak to you in private." She marched Stella to a secluded grassy patch and arched one eyebrow. Stella's daredevil stunt had thrilled the kids under the tree, the ones who egged her on. The kids were excited and wanted to enjoy Mom's animated scolding, but they knew they were partly to blame and didn't want to be on the receiving end of a lecture themselves. So they scattered, snapping their heads back often to catch whatever action they could. "Stella, we've been all over this before. Climbing trees is dangerous. You could get yourself killed. Dad and I want you to be safe and healthy for many years to come. Don't you want that too?" Stella spoke in a meek but cheerful tone. "But it's something I love. I look up and get a rush. There's nothing like it. Why doesn't everybody climb trees? Try a hovercraft. That's the safe way to get your thrills." "It's not the same. I don't get a tingly feeling in a hovercraft. I look out the window and see tiny objects below, sure, but no tingle. I can't explain it." Mom was tired of arguing. She didn't want to deny Stella the things she loved. Maybe there was a compromise. Just don't go too high and wear a helmet? Mom wished she could come up with something, but if Stella were to fall, she knew she could never forgive herself. As Stella grew up, other buzzes replaced trees, things exciting and new, sports, the piano, books, travel, acting, and of course, boys. One day, Stella walked by her childhood favorite tree and paused to take in a lungful of the smell of recently mowed grass and remember. Someone called out, "I'll be damned, Stella! How are you? Haven't seen you around." "Judy, right? I remember you from way back. Good to see you again." "Likewise, Stella. You're not aiming to go up there, are you?" "A part of me would love to, but part of me knows that time has passed." "I have a hard time imagining you all grown up and well-behaved. When I think of you, I recall a maverick doing her own thing. To hell with behaving like a good girl. Hooray for excitement. So, what's the thrill of the day?" "Trying out acting. There's a group downtown. Everything from plays to stand-up. It's a blast. It'll really get you out of your shell. I love it. You might like it too." Judy frowned. "But I know it's not for everybody. So, how about you, Judy? What have you been up to?" Same old, I'm sorry to say. I watch a lot of movies and eat a lot of pizza. Everyone I know enjoys movies and drinking. Pizza, too. Some are into yachting. But I never see you around. How come?" Judy gave a questioning look. Not wanting to appear a snob, Stella said, "But I love acting, and I merely like a good movie. I have to be active, just the way I am." "How about we go out for a drink, right now? We can talk more about old times." Stella hesitated briefly, then said, "Well, why not?" They walked half a mile to a traditional neighborhood saloon, like an upscale hotel bar on Earth. Stella ordered a saurian version of French vermouth with a name unpronounceable in English. Judy seemed to know everyone there. She waved to a casually dressed, distinguished-looking middle-aged man about twice her age, who then came over to join them. He was Alf Belcher, nicknamed Mr. History for his passion for his favorite topic, though he was mostly called just plain Alf or Alfie. Judy excused herself for a moment, but never returned. That was okay, because they had covered what they had to talk about for then. Judy thought Stella and Alf were cut from similar cloth and would enjoy each other. "I am delighted to meet you. I've heard all about you, Stella, the arboreal aberrant." "Huh?" "Well, you used to climb trees, right?" "Hey, I'm an aberrant too." We're in the same exclusive club, then. Hey, Alf, you don't look like a menace to society. I shouldn't joke. The situation is getting serious. I sometimes get the feeling they blame us. Genetic engineering was supposed to make us placid, model citizens, but instead, we are risk-takers and thrill-seekers. Whose fault is that? Our mere existence proves the so-called genetics experts didn't know what they were doing. It's crazy talk, and they know it. But we are small potatoes. What keeps them up at night is the genuine possibility that the entire race is doomed unless they can repair our DNA. The fact that fertility rates are dropping is not a good sign either. That wasn't supposed to happen. We, aberrants, are a symptom, not a cause. We are but the tip of the iceberg. I know, but first, do you prefer Alf or Alfie? Suit yourself. Either is fine. Well, Alf, tell me about you. What's your story? Can I buy you a drink, Stella? It's kind of hot out, so I think I'll have a cold beer. Okay, that sounds good. I'll have the same. Thanks, said Stella. Stella, I'm not sure how to answer your question. What's my story? If I babble, I'll bore you to tears. Well, Alf, I do bore easily, but not that easy. Since my tree climbing career, I've had one passionate interest after another, always active. That's why I don't come here often. Now, tell me about you. Not much to tell. I generally don't like talking about myself, Alf said, gazing about their surroundings. He continued. I like the ornate style here. Reminds me of some period decor on some planets I've visited. But you asked about me. I'm not that interesting. What floats my boat? I get off on history. Especially the stuff they call counterfactual studies. That's the what-if stuff. Such as? Take any event in history. Say, when some country took some sort of voluntary action, like going to war. Suppose the actors had chosen a different course. How might that have changed history? A lot of people don't respect these studies, call them BS. I'd have to agree it can be, especially in the past when there was limited data. But we now can compare cultures from many times and places and make assessments. I get it, Alfie. It might be BS without enough data points, but we have a whole universe of data points to draw on. If counterfactual studies are becoming respectable, maybe I could integrate them with my mystical beliefs. So maybe not so many people would think me a nut job. You gotta be kidding. Such a charming young lady, a nut job? I think it's just because you're an aberrant, which scares the hell out of them. They see in you, and in me, proof of how badly the long-gone geneticists screwed up. I knew things were serious, but not that bad, Alf. Could scarcely be worse. This is interesting, really, but I gotta run. Improv night. I'll keep thinking about what you said. We can talk more later. Tomorrow? Same place, same time. The next day, they met, as planned. Alfie, I wanted to ask if you study history by traveling to other worlds or reading in the archives. Well, the archives have lots of good material, but traveling is a lot more fun. Plus, what you find is up to date. And there aren't that many history buffs anymore, so there is little interest in keeping archives current. Science archives have it even worse. They even smell moldy. I have a few practical questions. First, how do you travel? I thought ordinary folk must get on a long waiting list, and they need a reason, one that's acceptable to the authorities. Well, for me, it was easy. I participated in the FUP study, the Federation of United Planets study, to profile developing planets throughout the universe. They schedule regular trips to a large set of fixed destinations, and we track status every year. We don't interfere with their development unless they discover the big bomb, that is, the big bomb, and could potentially do in a galaxy. We're leaving for the annual voyage soon. Wow, how neat! I have a million questions. This is so great, a real fupper. The biggest question is, can I get to tag along? I especially want to visit Earth. It's a long story. You'd need to get a research study approved. You'll need a small grant. That's not that hard. You just have to know the ropes. I could help you with that. But why Earth? Have you read what FUP said about them? Everybody asks that, Alf. But I gotta tell you, I disagree with FUP on this one. We don't see eye to eye on Earth. I've been futzing around watching Earth TV signals, and I know that Earthlings are having a whole hell of a lot more fun than we are. We have the perfect but unemotional physical paradise, but they have lives of joy. I think they're like honorary aberrants. I really dig them. What kind of grant, and how do I go after it? The topic should be one you feel strongly about and would advocate convincingly. And something they agree with, right? Not necessarily, Stella. I can recall one guy warning about the possibility of an intergalactic pandemic. They denied his proposal, and incredibly, it happened. The leadership looked pretty negligent and short-sighted. They were caught unprepared. What kind of idea do you have in mind? I think Mund is in trouble bigger than defective genes, and they are oblivious. We have everything material, but we behave like spoiled brats, couch potato channel surfers. We're not enjoying the gift of life. We're just going through the motions. Limitless possibilities available to all, and this zoned-out existence is the best we can do? We're pathetic. I don't think you'll get much of a grant talking like that. Do you want to work up a proposal that could win? Could you help, Alfie? Sure, count me in. The first thing is this. Tie your pitch to something they care about, like our screwed-up DNA. I'm a mystic. I believe we don't completely understand the connection between mind, spirit, and body, and I don't think our ancient scientists did either. I believe there is a law that says, use it or lose it, that we don't fully understand. We've stunted our imaginations in this obsessive drive for paradise. We've fiddled with our genes in the interest of harmony, but we've taken it too far. We need to get out there and climb a few trees to feel the buzz. There must be a better way to say it, but that's the best I can do for now. Not bad for an arboreal aberrant. We'll need to polish it some, but I think you are talented and can reasonably hope for a grant. I don't get the Earth connection. What will you do there? I want to study them to see how they come up with all the clever things I see on Earth TV. Their imagination or creativity seems their big advantage. It's why they're so happy. I would like to recruit a few to come back with me and show us how they do it. I think they have a lot to teach us here, things we knew once but have forgotten. I believe in abundancia, so I don't need all the answers up front. Stella went on to explain. She learned the term abundancia from a documentary she watched about a South American tribe on Earth. The word represented confidence, both in nature's abundance and in the ability to take advantage of that abundance. To the Indians, the term meant that they could go out for a day's hunt fully confident of finding something to eat and somewhere to sleep far from home. Abundancia provides the courage to do something risky. Earth TV so took Stella that she wanted a TV set of her own. Stella learned of an intergalactic scavenger who boasted, "If I don't got it, you don't need it." Stella challenged him, and he produced schematics for radio and TV receivers, and even a pair of Heath kits with functioning components. The scavenger gave her a good deal. He was relieved to get rid of it, thinking nobody in their right mind would buy such junk. He had it only because he was a natural-born hoarder. A soldering gun was easy to make, and she slapped together a ramshackle AM/FM radio and an analog black-and-white TV. After a busy day of aberring, a little lazy TV indulgence was the perfect way to wind down her day. It soon became a habit as she fell in love with all sorts of sitcoms and comedy shows, similar to Happy Days, Archie Bunker, Charlie's Angels, Cheers. Also, older works of Jack Benny, W.C. Fields, Mae West, Jackie Gleason, Gracie Allen, Abbott and Costello, Winchell and Mahoney, and many others. She thought, these people know how to make happiness out of thin air. Such imagination, such creativity, such spirit. Earth knew the secret to spiritual prosperity, joy. Stella concluded she simply had to meet some Earthlings to learn how they do it. Alf said, "But you know you're going to be asked how that will fix our DNA code problems, right?" And the answer is, I don't yet know. But I have a sense that Earth holds the key. Since our leadership here believes so much in science, I'll give it to them as an equation. Life equals passion. It's a Darwin thing. The dying species makes way for something better to emerge. Only imagination and creativity can keep the passion burning and the species alive. So I believe Mund needs to live with passion or die off. It's that simple. Let's assume for the moment that you bag a seat on a flight to Earth. Have you thought through your plan? I'm not much of a planner. I fall back on my mystic principles when I need to make a decision. It would help me to know something about the practical side of dealing with Earthlings. What are they like? Just the bald facts, not the fup distortion. And how do they live day to day? What should I be careful of? That's a lot of territory to cover. I'll just touch the highlights for now, and we can continue another time if you want. I agree with you that they show creativity and imagination in almost everything, but there are exceptions. Be careful not to reveal too much before you gain their trust. When they look out into the future and imagine, they generally get it all wrong. History shows that. But how could it be otherwise? There are no accurate crystal balls. Earth's technology crystal ball is exceptionally cloudy. In the early days of Earth computers, an Earth president gathered a group of their finest technical minds and asked them how many computers the world would need in the future. Their answer was effectively that one of our wristwatches would suffice. About the future, they imagine we are suckers for every whiz-bang futuristic architecture that comes along, and our cities are all drenched in an ethereal halo, and everything is ellipsoidal. If you tell them the truth, that we design for comfort and look pretty much like Earth, they won't believe you. Earthlings don't have a feel for what can happen in 13 billion years. Even without scientific knowledge, it is reasonable to expect that intelligent life sprang over millions of years. I mean, it should be no surprise to find one culture 1 million years ahead of another. 1 million is a mere rounding error compared to 13 billion. Considering how much Earth computers can advance in 10 years, the mind boggles to imagine what 1 million years can bring. And this is where the Earthling imagination falls off a cliff. They have no idea where we are. Yet they imagine the future can violate Newton's laws with anti-gravity machines, for example. All right, I've thrown a lot at you, but I have one more point. Whatever you do, don't reveal your age. They would never believe it, and you would immediately lose their trust. Make a joke, or say, ladies never reveal their age. Give them a silly figure like 1,000. You're not quite that old, right? I'll never tell. Now, you know, Stella, you can get a translator that fits in your ear that will easily translate back and forth to any Earth language. Practice a little. You'll get the hang of it real quick. Well, that ought to do it for starters. Alf, I was shooting for the excursion in a month. Are you slated for Earth? No, I'm off to a little place near Antares. A month'll be tight for you to get your grant, but it's doable. How exciting!